gonna get you. We're gonna get you in the morning, in the noon, or the night.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychic Eric here. It's Monday evening I'm shooting this, so hopefully I will push this out tomorrow sometime, but got some cool stuff lined up for today. Two that I picked up at the local shop, one pre-order, and then a gift from someone, so all four are killer, so stick around. And then at the end I'll just be kind of going through a stack of classic rock titles I picked up at the Goodwill this past Saturday. Nothing crazy necessarily, but stuff that'll sell and some people want them, you know, and they had a lot of great titles. They just dropped in at the right time, and I was in the midst of it, and I wasn't alone either, so people were kind of scrambling for some titles. Surprisingly, I was kind of surprised there were like 3 or 4 different people looking at them, and they had just arrived, you know, so I may have missed out on something, but they missed out on these. So yeah, conditions kind of varied. That's a different story, but the stuff I did pick up I'm satisfied with. It was like 7 titles for $7, so can't go wrong there. Hope you guys have been enjoying the trip videos. The last one went a little crazy on that one, and that's to be expected going into those trips. Because what trip is normal, right? And let's give a whole round of applause for trip 42 being blocked. I don't hear you out there. Start clapping. Yeah, so I guess that's the first time a video of mine's ever been blocked, as far as, you know, it took 42 trips to get blocked. So it was because of one song, Song of the Siren by Snow. It is on Epic Records, but I did the whole privatize the video, test it out first. It passed. The whole video was up for like 2 weeks. And then I noticed it was blocked when I uploaded my recent trip. So don't know what that's about. I mean, I guess they just wanted some royalties. But I'm sure the members of Snow would have approved of it, right? Most people are pretty cool about it, right? You know, these days, most people, but it was just not the case for that. But at least it's not a copyright strike. But that's also why I mentioned, you know, those videos do take a long time to process and get done. So I put a lot of effort into them just to have that happen. So kind of sucks on that end, but I'm not doing it just for you guys. I'm doing it for myself, and I do enjoy making those videos when I have some extra free time. So anyways, let's dive into these four records here. One's basically an EP at the very end, but I'll share that at the end of these first 3. So we'll start with the stuff I picked up at the record shop, vintage vinyl. He had sent this to me my way, asking if I needed it, and I was like, yes. I mean, I wasn't like desperately on the hunt for this one, but this is certainly one I wanted to pick up down the road, and you know, and I'll show it here. So this is Tomorrow, self-titled. Just never been as hyped over this record as other people have over the years, but I do like this record. I mean, especially now, firsthand getting the vinyl experience. This one's really kind of grown on me a lot more than it ever has, really. It's not an import pressing, even though it says import on the back. And that one came out in like '76. I think this one came, you know, somewhere around the same time period, but it's on the Visa label, which was distributed by Gem Records, which I do believe is based out of Germany. But great sound quality nonetheless. I don't know what year it came out. It doesn't say on Discogs, but I imagine sometime maybe late 70s. But yeah, this has a whole backstory to it. So Tomorrow, very short-lived band. It was recorded in '67. And this is like some of the most peak psych sounds from that time period coming out of the UK. And You know, with Keith West having success on his track, A Teenage Opera, otherwise known as Grocer Jack, hit number 2 on the UK charts, and he basically took the psychedelic route with Tomorrow, and this one did not get the promotion it desperately needed. Even though they were pretty good in the underground circuits, it sounds like they played a lot of shows at the UFO Club with familiar names: Pink Floyd, Soft Machine, Hendrix Experience. I think they also played with like Traffic, amongst many other bands. But yeah, Keith West, I mean, all the members went on to do better things for sure. Twink and Junior, the bassist, both worked on Think Pink on Twink's record, and then of course Steve Howe of Yes eventually. So and of course originally this was in black and white. There was no colored font, but I actually love the colored font and just leaving the rest in black and white. Apparently EMI didn't have the budget to cover that, so yeah, right. But of course you got classic opener like My White Bicycle, which John Lennon's kind of quoted as like a psychedelic anthem at the time. Real Life Permanent Dream, Shy Boy might be my favorite track on here. Revolution's great, and it does include the hit single he had, the excerpt from A Teenage Opera. And then the remainder, side 2 is basically kind of in the vein of like 67 period Kinks or Hollies era. I don't really care much for their Strawberry Fields cover, but overall, very good. Hallucinations ends on that track. I might prefer the Sunshine Pop version by Homer's Nods, and it was retitled as Mr. Rainbow. It's very much like a Sunshine Pop version, which I think is a little more tasty for my taste, but overall, classic tracks and just a classic of the era. Very glad to scoop this up and paid a good price for it. I mean, brought some trade-ins, so it wasn't terribly expensive, so I got like half off. So yeah, this is the stereo mix. It's reported that the mono mix is much superior, and I've heard both versions. The stereo mix sounds fine on this. It's not nearly as bad as like July's mix, the US stereo mix or anything. But so while I was there, that was like a couple weeks ago now, I picked this one up like the following Tuesday, I think it was. I had seen it in the shop that weekend, and I was like, I don't remember how this sounds or if it's going to be up my alley, but I heard it years ago, and this is one of those records that, you know, I typically would not pick up, but just considering what it was and the price it was at, I probably would never see this again, or at least for a while, and some of you fellows might like this record. This is Dreams by Garbo Zabo, and this is on the Sky label. This is a US pressing. Hungarian jazz guitarist, made his way over to the US and kind of just settled into the scene, you know, first being hired for Impulse Records, releasing a good stretch of records for a couple years, and then I think he was looking for a little more artistic freedom in the mix, and then his buddies joined him and created the Sky label, and he's like a co-owner of the label. Very cool gatefold and artwork, right? It's just really, really awesome illustrations going on here. But yeah, this is very much jazz-centered kind of music, chamber jazz, I guess it could be called. You know, it's working a lot of like minimal jazz instrumentation, but the way that they use it really floats into this kind of spiritual ascension, like you're just being kind of lifted up into this dreamlike state listening to it. Being from Hungary, he definitely has his roots kind of fixated with the folk scene at the time, very much in that traditional folk kind of style. And then as the emerging rock scene and, you know, electric jazz just being around the block, there's so much more going on here, and he's just really gelling well with the turning of the styles at the time. So Yeah, this is not nearly as highly priced as it's going for online, but he gave me a deal on this a little bit, and it's a very clean copy. I mean, there are a few scuffs on the record, but I was going to let him know if I heard anything, and this is a very quiet pressing here on the Sky. Shot of the label there. He does a variation of Donovan's Ferris wheel, which closes out the record, but he's kind of known for covering a lot of pieces and doing his own variation of his own. He does a couple classical pieces by Defala. My favorite might be Song of Injured Love. The visuals I get on that track, I always think of like wandering through this otherworldly garden. It's like neon plants, and it's like a illuminating perfume garden or something. I don't know. Just thinking really abstractly about this, because it's just like, it's tracks that really take you somewhere, and that's essentially my whole agenda as far as where I want music to take me. So yeah, still very glad to pick this up, and like I said, man, the vinyl experience, it hits you differently, and now that I've owned this and have spun it quite a few times, it's taken off very well for me, so I'm really enjoying it so far. I think he would later become like a mentor for Carlos Santana and working with several artists, and he passed away too young. He really went awfully young at 54, I think, back in the early 80s. So, as well as his son, I think, passed away pretty early as well. I think that was more of like a drug overdose or something, but yeah, I was kind of catching up on his bio because I didn't know too much about him, but anyways, I'm sure you guys are much more familiar with that than I am. But this next one, I've never pre-ordered an album so quickly. This is one I ordered from Greece. I don't do pre-orders too often, but when there's something I'm like, this desperately needs a reissue, I'm all over it, man. And then when it finally happens, I'm sold. So check this one out. This is Roy Rutanen? I think that's how you pronounce his last name. This is a American artist, but he relocated, or retreated rather, to Sydney, Australia. There's a whole backstory here. I'm kind of just getting familiar with the backstory a little bit. He was drafted during, the Vietnam era. Shortly after the late 60s, he retreated there for some R&R because he had visited there a couple times, it's reported, and he was playing with local artists at the time, Doug Ashdown, and several artists around Australia at the time, playing small clubs and coffee houses, and eventually someone from the MCA record label, I think it was like the president at the time or someone associated there in Australia, signed him up on the label, and he had all these tunes written out prior to doing any rehearsals or doing the actual recording in the studio, because of some liner notes here telling the whole story. And this is him nowadays, still with us. This was recorded in '71. Cool photographs there. He would eventually become doing all kinds of things, working as a DJ and on a radio station. I think he was a news reporter at one time. So just a bunch of odd jobs, like in Texas and I think California area, just transporting all over the place. And this is fantastic musically. You guys will really love this if you love this style. So it's basically, I want to say it's like folk rock is kind of the primary focus here, but of course that counterculture blends in here fantastically. Especially lyrically, he's very on point with, the way the world's plastic, and talking about his feelings during the Vietnam War, and trying to bring peace and all kinds of things of that nature. And it's so good. I haven't really focused too clearly on the lyrics. I'm not much of a lyric guy, but these are good lyrics from what I've heard. And the sound quality of this reissue is fantastic. This came out of Greece. I think you can still pick up copies on black vinyl. I know the gold is sold out. But get a shot of the label there. It's upside down, but kind of a custom label. I forget what label it is. I'm not even going to pronounce that. But you can find the Bandcamp online if you just search his name and find some more info there. But yeah, man, this is fantastic musically. I mean, there's some really acid fizzing guitar work on here, kind of reminiscent of like sort of a Santana kind of vibe going on the aesthetic leads. Some nice heavy moments, lots of players on here, some flute action going on, some lengthy tracks too. Some get a little somber in style, but it's just a blend of great stuff. Some rural moves, nice slide guitar in the mix, very gentle sounding. This is highly recommended. Almost out of all of these in this video, this is a must listen if you're into those type of vibes. It doesn't even feel like a singer-songwriter record necessarily, even though there is some solo, very minimal solo things going on acoustically, but there's a whole backing band. There's like 6 other players, I think, so it's very good. Then on to this last one of the 4, sort of personal things going on here besides the thrift scores. I can't thank this man enough. So Baron Lonnie, if you guys know him, he comments occasionally on videos and been a long time viewer of my channel. He's been hitting me up lately as far as like on Instagram and Discogs, been chatting a little bit and seeing him on Mr. Bizarro's live streams. Been really enjoying those live streams too, by the way. But this is one I kind of wanted to highlight on, and I think my next trip video will be sort of highlighting this EP here. And I initially kind of passed on it. I was like, it'd be really cool to have, but I'm not like, it's not like a priority to get it or pick it up. But thankfully Lonnie came in with the goods and asked if I could show this in my next trip video and just pass this along to me. So this is Sound Company. This is a brand new EP that came out, 3 tracks. And this is a part of a acetate back in the day. Recorded also in '71. It's a band out of Missouri, Neosho, Missouri, which I think is south of Kansas City. Went up to Kansas City at the time. These guys, I think they're probably in their like early 20s when they recorded this. They formed in 1969, and yeah, I think they had like 6 tracks on that acetate, but this is only half of them. This is like the heaviest of the heavy tracks. And this is just full on extra crispy fuzz guitar masterpiece here. This is some blazing stuff, man. I wish it were longer, I wish they had released it LP wise, but I understand how much it costs to make some of these things. So probably doing a 45 or in the style of 45 is much cheaper route just to push this out there. But yeah, it's on the Damon Recording Studios. 3 tracks, but all 3 tracks are killer. That's for sure. It's got some organ leads, but sometimes those fuzz leads are so loud that the organ kind of gets drained out. But it kind of reminded me of the band Odyssey, Setting Forth, if you guys know that record. I have the reissue on Lion Productions. It's kind of similar in that vein, kind of like Angel Dust, that track by them, as far as like the style goes. But yeah, pick this up if you can, or it might be actually sold out. I didn't even think about that. Because I know a lot of people picked up on this, and I missed the opportunity initially. So once again, Lonnie, if you see this, I really can't thank you enough. I was kind of blown away when I thought, when I saw you were going to send this my way, and I was like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of this, man. But at the same time, maybe I am. I mean, you definitely pass this along to someone that actually does appreciate music and will play this a ton, so this is definitely one I will bring to the bar that I DJ at, so it'll get spun sometime down there. But yeah, I think I covered that all. I don't think it is available, but check it out online. I made a playlist actually here on YouTube. It's a public playlist, and I added the 3 tracks featured on there. So there's a fella in Australia, Juggles, he goes by on Instagram, and Sound Company, who I do believe is based out of Missouri as well. He recently changed his name to Sound Company, and he's known as Psych 45s on YouTube, so you guys may have come across his channel at one point. They're both behind this, so thank you so much, Lonnie. Really, really appreciate it. The little friendship here, even though you don't comment all the time as you addressed, but you're out there and you're watching me and appreciating the efforts I put into those trip videos, so it just means a lot, man. But continuing on, I know it's 20 minutes we're clocking at, but I wanted to skip through these quickly. So yeah, Goodwill, I mean, they had titles like Led Zeppelin 2 there, but no disc, and the covers were trashed. Are You Experienced they had, didn't have the Hendrix record in it. So a lot of things that could have been a lot better ended up not being, so. But what I did find, and this is mostly clean stuff except for like 2 of them, and there's a couple I might be able to clean up a little better, because it's stuff that could be cleaned off. But yeah, it came from a collection that must have been sitting for a while. But so from front to back, this is like from cleanest to not so clean. So this is probably the best score out of the bunch. Todd Rundgren, Something Anything. Never owned this before, and I hadn't heard it in a long time, so it is a little dusty inside there yet, but you know, he's kind of all over the map on this record. You know, he's got some power pop moves, piano rock, art pop. I do like some Todd Rundgren, even though I don't collect him. He's an artist that I do appreciate, you know, just all the things he's done as far as producer, and some of the songwriting is really top-notch, you know, for some commercial songs for sure. I found his Utopia record. This is more jazz fusion. Is that right? I actually haven't heard this before, so need to do that. Most of the stuff, though, I think I'm going to trade in. I mean, it probably doesn't go for that much, but it's cool to find it, you know, for $1 or 50 cents, whatever it was. This is pretty clean. Ram, Paul McCartney, and Linda McCartney. So very cool. Don't know if this is a reissue or not. I guess it is. It looks like it's the black Capitol label. It's probably a reissue. And then Alan Parsons Project, Eye in the Sky. It's a very clean copy. These last few, kind of questionable. I need to clean this one up. This is Jeff Beck, Wired. I'm sure some people are looking for this. So this was cool. I wish these were clean. They would have been some good scores, but I found 2 copies of this. Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. There were 2 mono copies. Unfortunately, I don't know how it's going to play, but I mean, it doesn't even have a sleeve. But it is a mono. The other one was way, way torched. Didn't even want to pick it up, but I don't know, might display the cover just for that, you know. Then the last one, the disc was pretty decent on this. It doesn't have a cover as well, but Beggar's Banquet. The cover's really nasty on this one, but if I can play a few tracks, we'll see, but I don't know, it's kind of questionable at this point, you know, stuff with that condition, but sometimes you just feel compelled to just not leave it there, even though it may not be in the best shape, you know. But that about wraps it up, so hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out these tracks, man, or these first LPs. And I think this is still available on black vinyl. It was limited in total 500. I think there was 300 black vinyl copies. And it is out of Greece, so you're going to be paying probably an arm and leg for it, but for me, it was worth it. And thank you again, Lonnie. I'm just very appreciative of your support, and even though this is simply me just having fun online and making these videos, and the trip videos are essentially just videos for people to discover music, you know, while also having fun with it, being entertaining, and throwing some commercials in there. At least I just started doing that, so that about wraps it up. So I think I got one coming in the mail. It's from Discogs. I bought pretty cheap, a reissue for 15 bucks. And then I did order overseas a reissue that's out of print, but I finally sold that I Feel the Spirit record that I bought from Fremont, if you guys remember. It's that one Christian gospel soul record. Finally dropped the price down to like 70 bucks. Someone picked it up, and I used that cash for something overseas, and that's kind of the route I'm going anymore with sales I'm making. I mean, I kind of like to pick up those reissues that are out of print or not easy to come by of some killer, you know, bands overseas, because I want to get into like picking up reissues of bands, records that are non-American. I'm kind of focused in that route right now. I mean, we'll see how long it lasts, but anyways, have a good day. I think it's Tuesday when you're watching this, so take care, and we'll see you soon.